What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the How to Read series. My apologies for taking the extra day hiatus from our regular upload schedule, but I had a minor and unexpected medical issue sort of pop up that makes it rather uncomfortable to sit and make videos. So I really just decided to get it all checked out, take an extra day to heal and everything like that, just to make sure, I'm okay. I am now. Nothing to worry about, nothing serious. But we are back on track here with Chapter 11, Ye Who Hail the Prairie Flower. So, this is the invention that saved Wonderland. It's beautiful, White remarked from her throne, her thumbs lightly stroking the rose's leaves as it lay comfortably sprawled across her knees. It is, the bishop agreed, matter-of-factly, from his position before her. But if it's as capable and dangerous as you've annotated to me, then it should be locked away, far from any idle, untrustworthy hands, she added, breaking her daze in the crystal petals, whose heavenly glow accentuated her innocent features. Agreed, he sighed again. And it can't be as simple as just another locked door you could sneak your way around, she continued, branching off of her previous feeling. Well, with as many doors and locks as you've put in this castle, I wouldn't exactly say that's an easy accomplishment, the bishop teased. White, all too eagerly, brushed off his humor, opting to fall deeper into consideration. No, it has to be more complex, something with multiple stages, like a puzzle, a riddle, or a maze. A scavenger hunt, perhaps? The rabbit offered, standing beside the old man. Yes, exactly, she reacted enthusiastically, already expanding on his contribution. A scavenger hunt where each piece unlocks another, and it's up to the participant to know where they go and how they fit. Clues leading to a solution earned by the skilled, a secret rewarded to the worthy. While folding, wrapping, and concealing the rose in its more manageable and deceptive mode, she assured. I'll mull over the intimate details once I return from my rendezvous with the citizens. In the meantime, hide it somewhere safe. Would my library please you, my lady? The bishop asked as he received the straps. No, she replied, rising from her chair and dividing the pair as she walked between. Too many new and curious guards posted in the halls. It's unlikely, but never impossible, that they may intrude on you if you catch their attention. It will go in my private chamber. None will trespass there. I'll keep watch until its permanent residence is figured out. Just about to push open the titanic dual doors of the throne room, she waited, wanting to press her advisors for updates on another of her ponderings. Oh, also, where are we on my parents' burial? Yes, their coffins have been constructed and are scheduled to be delivered to the location you specified early this afternoon. The rabbit shared, adjusting his bow tie after conferring with his pocket watch. If I may pry ever so delicately, your grace, why are they necessary with no bodies nor anything else tangible to bury? Because it's not about that, rabbit. It's about honoring my parents by giving them a place to rest that's close to my heart. Within the hour, White's carriage, along with her motorcade of fresh-faced mounted recruits, were arriving at one of the quaint flatland communities. They, like the rest, were doing what they could to recover in the days since the war, making the most out of what survived. She was pleased to see the farmers smiling as they tended their gardens, mothers humming as they took their clothes off the line, children playing and giggling as the old men swapped wives' tales, and the musician and the artist inspired each other. Her presence had garnered a lot of attention, and by the time she exited the carriage, awkwardly, I might add, since the gaps between the steps were longer than her legs, several of the creatures were emptying from their homes and crowding around her. Excuse me. "Good morning," she greeted cheerfully. They answered with a melody of "Good morning, Your Highness," and "Good morning, Your Majesty." After an exaggerated inhale-exhale exercise, she exclaimed, "Another glorious day has dawned for Wonderland, don't you think?" Again, they replied in a combination of "Yes, ma'am," and "It sure has, Your Grace." "It's very nice to see you all today," she concluded, before getting down to the business of the trip. "I want you to know it's my wish to continue being open and transparent about the goings-on in the kingdom, as they affect us all in one way or another. My regime intends on establishing its own rapport with you through less of the traditional methods of communication, like the handwritten declarations dropped from the sky or facts cried through impersonal speeches, and more of a direct delivery where appropriate. I've brought news with me today, and at the top of my list of topics are the rumors surrounding the untimely deaths of my parents that have no doubt been circulating as of late. They are valid, and regardless of my feelings about it, it was their duty to coronate a successor in the event that they, like many of our loved ones, didn't make it back, which indeed was the case. Long live the King of Diamonds, long live the Queen of Hearts, the civilians chanted in respect. "Thank you," she said sincerely, as an introduction to the next item of discussion. "I'd also like to inform those of you who will concern yourself with it that my elder sister Red, due to what I can only describe as profound grief, has chosen to venture outside our borders, leaving me the sole representation of the royal family inside the castle. Although I can't speak as to the duration of her absence, a kind thought or prayer for her safety would be appreciated. And that brings us to arguably the most unpleasant but important subject. Allow me to ease into it by first saying that it does my heart good to see how you've adapted and still found reasons to smile, laugh, and be merry. As you should. You deserve that, and we wouldn't want the king's gift to us to go to waste. And yet, the sobering gospel is that, despite his bravery and sacrifice during our war for peace, he had no idea how much of it they would purchase. We are free of darkness and death, yes, but there is no earthly way of knowing what else the Selbatic lands could have waiting in store. Which is to say that the Jabberwock King and his army of winged devils could just be the tip of the spear, and at any moment an unknown could come over the cliffs and drag us back into it. I want to be prepared, so it's been decided that the thing to do would be to move you across the chessboard desert to the other side of Wonderland, so the lives you've worked so hard to rebuild will be harder to threaten. I know this is no small ask, but I promise you, whatever forest, meadow, or mountain you homestead will be yours, and the Wonderlanders that are already housed there, your neighbors, will be more than happy to help you get settled. White paused, giving the growing drone of gasps and murmurs a chance to deliberate amongst itself. But it was a child, a boy, that shoved his way to the front of the line so he could be seen and heard. But what will happen to our homes here? Though neither the question nor the boy had been formally elected, the residents were interested in what the Queen's feedback would be. The plan is to bolster security. Your cottages, as they are, will be converted to an outpost, where a battalion stationed here will be able to better react at the first sign of jeopardy. And when are we expected to leave? The disembodied voice of a woman heckled from the back of the throng. Ideally, as soon as possible, she handled naturally. You may have all the time you need to collect your belongings. Then, you'll meet the escort of knights who will assist and protect your migration through the looking glasses. Don't worry about any friends or family members in other villages. They'll be right behind you. Hold tight to your optimism, ambitions, and your reliance on each other, and this process will be painless. Chapter 12. The Idle Hands That Fed the Devil. In the dark of night, the stars weren't the only light to anoint the columned courtyard of the Black Royalty's abode. Braziers had been stoked white hot to flicker and spawn the shadows red would spar with. From the pyre she pulled the dual swords, which she previously coated in oil, so the flame would adhere to the blades. She rehearsed the movements, diving, rolling, swinging wildly, flirting closer to disaster with every rogue spark that slackly sought to catch her skirt as she twirled. Bewitching and chaotic, the routine ended when she thrusted the molten point of each sword against the floor, triggering a marvelous and extinguishing finale. Impressive, the King of Clubs reviewed, clapping patronizingly from behind her. Flabbergasted, Red came off her knee, braced and hostile, but relaxed and lowered the smoldering blades once her uncle's figure was distinguished from the emptiness. Father trained us to be able to look after ourselves, not be scared little girls. Yes, I can see that, but I didn't say there wasn't room for improvement, he humbled, coming away from the pillar he was leaning against. There were glimpses of uncertainty, a struggle for control in your form. It's the swords, they don't, she went to whine, tossing them back into the burning brazier. Excuses are intolerable from your station, young lady, he lambasted promptly. If the instruments of a blacksmith aren't to your liking, then forge your own. How? She asked, neglecting to hide a stupefied expression. What do you mean, how? He huffed, grumbled and rolled his eyes. Oh, don't tell me the bishop hasn't bothered to add lectures on at least some of the ways to utilize magic to that generation's old curriculum of his. Okay, come here, close your eyes. Standing at her side now, he kept his voice low, really to a mentoring whisper. Keep your fingers loose, arms straight. Now, call your magic with patience and clarity. Let it explore your deepest wants and desires so that it may know how to serve you and be bent to your will. Feel its power welling in your palm and let it flow. Then, as if his spouting was the incantations of some nefarious rite, Red's hand shuddered in reaction. She winced as her nails began to agonizingly grow and whimpered as they grew longer still. It might hurt in the beginning, but eventually you'll get familiar with the discomfort, Club shepherded, spectating the manifestation, and when it stopped, he aggressively discarded her wrist, saying, "Let's see how good your technique is now. Those nails, as hard as mineral ore, those claws as sharp as any dagger, were a deformity in her sight, a mistake made by magic uneducated and sour. But at the same moment, it gave the tool she wanted. It endowed the purpose she desired. She swiped, and her uncle blocked, with a weapon that dissipated as rapidly as it was conjured. What seemed to be a game between the two seemed to soon dissolved into a serious fight as the momentum hastened. She struck harder, faster, high and low, but was deflected by all manner of summoned swords, axes, and hammers. When it was clear that the king wouldn't be bested, Red submitted to being explored once more. She made no attempts to hide from her magic. Visions of plants, an overgrowth of vines crashing through the floor to ambush him unaware. It was a wish fulfilled. They came, these roots of the world, first targeting a knee, which he exerted great effort trying to hack free with his sword until another tentacle restrained and disarmed him. The weapon was left for Red to steal, as his other arm was being neutralized. Weeds coiling around his torso and limiting the range of his head, while those around his leg tightened and pulled him to the ground. There it is. The rage that could move mountains, Club said through labored laughter, pressure mounting on his larynx. Ah, what a friend it could be to you. A shame you hold yourself back from it. He watched her pace, augmenting her anxiety with every point. It tells you to kill me, doesn't it? We both know that's why you came here. Well, here's your chance. Be the person you are, the person you want to be. To be the true self who your parents rejected in favor of someone more in their own image. Perfect. So what are you waiting for? Do it. Give in. The dare initiated, Red lost all sense of composure and sanity, swinging the king's sword with the goal of cutting the smirk out of his face. To the surprise of her delirium, it was only his fading mirage she mutilated, a cloud floating unfettered to safety on the other side of the courtyard. Your traps lack the conviction to be lethal, he taunted, showing his solid, unharmed body. Come to me, child. A single irresolute step elicited a lashing. Not with your feet. Place a vivid picture of the destination in your mind for your magic to follow. Then imagine yourself weightless, stripped of the boundaries of a physical shell. It'll bridge the gap between distances and transport you from one to the next in a blink. Nails retracted and sword fallen from fist, she directed her attitude to the cleverly divertive task laid out before her. She honed in on the area where Club stood and ran at him, ran and disappeared. A spectral cloud of smoke careered to him. Delighted by the rapid advancement of her abilities, he too shifted shape to match. He collided with her, sending both into a tailspin that resulted in booming laughter and, dare I say, a brief illustration of bonding. What had previously served as their arena was transfigured into their ballroom as the half-formed wraiths danced together, more of a spirited skipping than a genuine waltz, but a romp that saw them fly and come to rest high atop the ramparts of Blacksuit. What are we doing up here, Uncle? Red asked, endeavoring to contain her giggling fit. Woozy as an after effect of her first teleportation. The next phase of your training, the king replied, in a much farther along, put-together state. What is my trial? She, the steady and yearning student, inquired. To jump, he enlightened, in a timbre completely absent of remorse, but teeming with expectation. Have you gone mad? A fall from this height would be fatal, she authenticated, clumsily looking down over the side. Precisely, he professed in partisanship with this inhumane requirement. You achieved what you did down there because you were able to focus without pressure or outside interference, conditions life rarely offers. The greatest pressure of our existence is to decide in the most frequent conditions of life or death. If you succeed here, you'll either float gracefully to the ground below, or you'll soar and never touch it. Failure means you are not the ward I suspected you of being. But in addition to the lengthening list of disappointments this family has been to me, I won't do it, Red spurred, withdrawing hastily from both he and the wall. The cringe of pain that followed was anything but mysterious, another fluctuation of anger for Club to assuage. The girl has found a new toy, and can't resist fiddling with it. I must tell you, while I admire your dedication to slitting my throat, or stabbing me in the back at every opportunity you find, it makes the attempts on my life predictable and tiresome. A bloodthirsty leer was the only reply she sent back. She charged straight at him, furiously building momentum. She leapt, but didn't land her blow. Alternatively, he captured her by the wrists, suspending her entire weight above his head. A scuffle ensued, for authority over the knives being pushed into his skin. She writhed and shoved, jerked and jostled, feeling the king's strength languish. She would not lose this. She wouldn't let him leave there alive. But then came the horrifying gasp, the cognizance that she was being thrown over the edge. Red plummeted into the barely definable. She flipped herself stomach down, contending with the updraft, assaulting her senses and occupying her previous focus. Her precious focus. At her most centered, she summoned weak, unsustainable portals. Her shiftings were strong enough only to consume bite-sized portions of her lower self at a time before reverting to their original human structure. She didn't scream. Maybe she thought it fruitless. Maybe she couldn't hear herself. But against those pressures, she was doomed. Club stood silently on the ramparts, ruminating over his dastardly deed, when in his blurred background, a large red orb rose in the open air parallel to the wall and hovered to where the floor could be reached beneath it. Slowly, what looked like a young lady surfaced from the mist. "Disappointed, uncle?" she asked, as her toes came in contact with the castle. He refused to look at her, to give away the inkling of his position on her survival. So he concealed the smile, wicked and exhilarated, from her as he hissed, "Not at all. I had the utmost confidence in you, princess." That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. The end of this also means that we have officially crossed the halfway point. So I hope you have enjoyed the journey thus far, and do come back for the closing half of this particular chapter in Wonderland. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later.